You've seen love stories. This isn't one. This is a story about addiction, not just to a substance, but to a person. It starts with a fantasy over a phone line and ends in a nightmare you can't wake up from. We're told that love can conquer all, but what happens when love is the sickness? Today, we're looking at a decade-long relationship that will leave you reeling, and you'll see why you'll want to watch this with the lights on. The film is Ira Sachs's 2012 masterpiece, Keep the Lights On. It's one of the most unflinching, honest, and devastating portraits of a relationship ever put to screen. Based in part on the director's own life, it's a film that strips away all the Hollywood glamour to show us something terrifyingly real. It asks a brutal question. How long do you hold on to a love that's destroying you? And what happens when you're addicted not just to the drugs, but to the person who keeps relapsing? The film opens in New York City, 1998. Eric, a Danish documentary filmmaker, is looking for a connection the old-fashioned way through a phone sex hotline. The voice he connects with belongs to Paul, a handsome but closeted lawyer in publishing. Their first meeting is anonymous, carnal, and is supposed to be a one-off. But a chemistry that's instant and undeniable pulls them back together. This is the foundation of their entire relationship, and you have to understand it to get what comes next. Their intimacy is born from a fantasy, a disembodied voice promising a connection without the mess of real life. Right from the start, their bond is forged in anonymity and secrets. Paul is still with a girlfriend, his life neatly compartmentalized. Eric is a hopeless romantic, a man who wants to build a world around the person he loves. For a little while, it actually works. The film gives us that beautiful, intoxicating rush of a new romance in New York. We see the passionate highs. But director Ira Sachs is way too honest for a simple love story. He plants the seeds of destruction right in the honeymoon phase. When Paul asks Eric to keep his drug use a secret, it isn't just a red flag. It's them signing an unwritten contract that will define their next 10 years. It's the first of countless secrets, the first time love is used to cover up something much darker. The title, Keep the Lights On, starts as a plea for intimacy, to be fully seen by someone else. But as the story unfolds, it becomes a frantic command, a desperate need to shine a light on the shadows before they swallow everything. As the relationship gets deeper, the cracks don't just appear, they splinter. Paul's drug use, specifically crack cocaine, escalates from a hidden habit into the destructive engine at the center of their lives. And the way the film is structured is brilliant. Sachs uses title cards to jump forward years at a time, but the pattern remains agonizingly the same. Each chapter follows a familiar, heartbreaking rhythm. A period of peace gets shattered by Paul's relapse. He disappears for days, leaving Eric spiraling into a panic of unanswered calls and an empty apartment. Then comes the crash, the desperate phone call, the promises to change, and the painful process of picking up the pieces. This is where the film becomes more than a story about addiction. It's a masterclass in showing codependency. Eric isn't just a passive victim, he is an active participant in this toxic dance. His need to save Paul becomes its own kind of addiction. He turns into a full-time caretaker, his life reduced to managing Paul's crises. He lies to friends, cancels plans, and pours his own money and energy into a black hole. And Paul, in turn, becomes a master manipulator, knowing that Eric's deep-seated need to be the savior is the most powerful tool he has. Sachs's direction feels incredibly intimate and claustrophobic. Many scenes are shot in single rooms, with the vibrant New York City outside feeling muted and far away. The focus is always on the war between these two men. The camera stays uncomfortably close, forcing us to see the raw pain, the quiet manipulations, and the glimmers of hope that make the next fall even worse. This isn't about big, flashy drama. It's about the quiet, grinding erosion of a person's soul. We are watching Eric's identity dissolve into Paul's addiction. What started as love has curdled into a function, a role he has to play in a tragedy he refuses to leave. As the years fly by, the cycle of relapse and recovery spins faster and faster. The moments of peace become shorter and more frantic. The film is relentless in showing how their codependency is the very thing that fuels the addiction. Love becomes the enabler. When Eric declares his love for Paul after he returns from rehab, it's not a moment of triumph. It's just another link in the chain, binding them to this destructive pattern. The film never tells us why Paul started using drugs. It denies us that easy answer. Instead, it just focuses on the mechanics of the trap they've built together. It's a study of how love's best intentions can become destructive. Eric's attempts to help become part of the problem. His forgiveness and his unwavering belief that his love can be the cure only make it easier for Paul to keep falling. There's a devastating scene late in the film that sums it all up perfectly. After another one of Paul's binges, Eric finds him in a hotel room. The confrontation that follows isn't a screaming match. It's something much worse: pure exhaustion. It's the hollowed-out resignation of a man who has played this scene 1,000 times. Thor Lindhart's performance as Eric is just a marvel of sustained heartbreak. You can see the weight of a decade of this corrosive hope in his eyes. And Eric is no saint. His own compulsions and promiscuity flare up as a way to cope, a desperate attempt to feel anything outside of the suffocating world he shares with Paul. He has unsatisfying trysts, searching for a connection, but it only makes him feel more degraded. This isn't a story of a good guy and a bad guy. It's a story of two broken people who use each other to stay broken. Their relationship is no longer a partnership. It's a shared sickness. And the love they feel is real, but it's become impossible to separate from the pain. The moments of tenderness, which still flicker, are what make it all so tragic. They're brutal reminders of what they've lost and what they can never get back. This is one of the most honest films ever made about the messy reality of love and addiction. It's a tough watch, but an important one. It forces us to look at the parts of love we'd rather ignore, the desperation, the obsession, and the moments where devotion becomes self-destruction. Have you ever seen a film that captured the painful side of a relationship so perfectly? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, think about subscribing for more analyses of films that stick with you long after the credits roll. A story like this can only end one way. Not with a bang, but with a slow, painful letting go. The climax of "Keep the Lights On" isn't a single dramatic event. It's the final, gut-wrenching realization that the love that once felt like a lifeline has become a tomb. The final act explores the true cost of their decade-long war. We see Paul after he's been sober for a while, and for a moment, you think change is possible. He's more present than he's been in years, no longer hiding behind the haze of his addiction. But the damage is too deep. The patterns are too ingrained. The trust has been pulverized. The end comes from a place of profound exhaustion. It's the moment Eric finally understands that he can't save Paul, and more importantly, that in trying to save him, he has completely lost himself. The love he felt has been replaced by a weary, obsessive duty. The film doesn't judge them. It simply presents the heartbreaking truth. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. The final scenes are quiet, sad, and utterly devastating. There's no grand Hollywood speech. No tearful reconciliation. There's only the quiet acknowledgement that this story has run its course. It's the realization that the bond that defined their entire adult lives was built on an unstable foundation from that very first phone call. It was a relationship that began as a fantasy and could only end when reality became too heavy to ignore. The end isn't a failure, but a liberation. It's the painful, necessary act of choosing yourself after a decade of choosing someone else. Keep the Lights On is more than just a film about a turbulent gay romance or drug addiction. It's a film about the universal ways we can lose ourselves in other people. It's a cautionary tale about the fine line between devotion and destruction, between caring for someone and enabling them. Director Ira Sachs holds up a mirror to the darkest corners of love and makes us look. The title is a paradox. It's a plea for honesty in a relationship built on secrets. It's a command to stay vigilant against the darkness, even as the characters keep inviting it in. And in the end, it's a message to us, the audience. Watch this with the lights on. Don't look away from the uncomfortable truths. See the story for what it is, a loving, fearless portrait of human frailty. We started with a question: what happens when love is the sickness? Ira Sachs doesn't give us an easy answer. He just shows us the symptoms, the progression, and the devastating cost of the disease. It's a film that suggests the most profound act of love might just be recognizing when it's time to turn the lights off, close the door, and learn to live by yourself and for yourself, once again.